Hi everyone, it's Monica, and welcome back to another card tutorial here at TaylorMade Cards for You. I recently just finished the 7 Days of Halloween series, and after that week I thought it was time to create something a little bit cuter. So I pulled out my graphic 45s and my Tim Holtz Crazy Dog stamp set, and I decided to create a little fun, colorful dog card. Next to Tim Holtz, graphic 45 is probably my favorite paper. The quality is really good. It's heavy cardstock and it has images on both sides. A lot of times not only are you getting a print on one side, but on the other side you're going to get ephemera that you can cut up and incorporate into your card. So you may not know that I have 2 little dachshunds, and when I saw this Crazy Dog set I had to get it because of this cute little image. I've colored this little guy up so many times, but he just makes me so happy every time I stamp him. And when I saw the graphic 45 paper with the dogs and the cats, I knew that it would be a great design to work with this little stamp set. I really like the Crazy Dog set for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously because it has the little dachshund, but the second reason I like it is the images are very simple and the edges are very crisp. So if you don't have the matching die cut set, it's easy to actually fussy cut these. Now I heard that the set actually does now have a matching die cut set, which will make cutting out your images a lot easier. But if you choose not to actually spend the money and invest in the die cut set, fussy cutting these little critters is very easy. Now I chose to color up this little guy black with some brown, and that's because that's the color of my little dog. But the 2 combinations aren't an easy match, and I wasn't really sure how they would blend. So as I went along, I wasn't really sure if it was going to be a successful coloring attempt or one I was going to have to scrap. But I'll let you watch me and watch the process along the way, and I'll let you decide if it was a success. Now I definitely have not mastered Copic coloring, but like anything, you need to practice. So at any given time, I will pull out my Copic markers and just color up an image. It isn't my first go-to technique, but it's one that I do like to do, and hopefully with practice, my shading and my techniques will continue to improve. Now my graphic 45 paper is so pretty that I knew I just wanted to cut this little guy out and adhere him to the top of my paper. And like I said earlier, this image is very crisp and it has some very straight lines, which makes fussy cutting pretty easy. I know a lot of people don't like to fussy cut, but one thing that I have learned is when you are cutting out your images, you want to move the paper and not necessarily your scissors, and that will make for cleaner cuts. Now I knew I wanted to emphasize the turquoise in the card, so when I cut out this die cut, I used some matching designer paper that I had on hand. This particular die cut is called Lovely View, and it's one of my favorites. It kind of looks like an old Viewmaster, but just a lot prettier. Now I knew I wanted this love sentiment to show, but when I actually started laying out my items, I realized that I probably would be covering it. So I created a tag, which would enable me to actually move the sentiment up just a bit. Now the thing about graphic 45 is it really doesn't take a lot to create a beautiful card. As you can see, I'm just adding a couple of items to the card because I don't want to cover up the beautiful paper that I'm going to be using here. The images are so cute and the colors are so vibrant that anybody can create beautiful cards using graphic 45 paper. Now this bow maker that I'm about to use here is one that a girlfriend gave me a couple of years ago when I actually started creating cards. I actually had it for several months without even using it, but once I realized how to use it, I knew I could always create a beautiful bow. If you don't have one of these, you can probably pick one up at your Michael's store or any arts and crafts store. And as you can see here, you can create single bows, double bows, triple bows, and you can move the pegs to create your bow smaller or larger. And you're going to get a perfect bow every single time. So when I am creating bows for my cards, this is what I will use because I want my bow to be straight and tight. And the bow maker enables me to do that. Now, I've heard many people say that they won't over embellish their cards because they can't get them to mail properly in a regular envelope. But to me, if I want to create a beautiful card, then I will spend the extra postage to actually get it to the person that I'm making it for. I'll usually use a bubble type of envelope to make sure that all of my elements are going to stay secure. And of course, I will pay the extra postage. But honestly, I don't think I could go out and actually buy a card this pretty and have it mean as much as it does to me. You know, I'm creating this little card that will have this little dachshund that reminds me of my little animal. And if you're creating a card for somebody that maybe has a little dog or personalizing the card, that to me is worth paying the extra postage. Now this card originally was going to be a 5.5 by 4.25 size card. But once I was finished, I actually found that having the flower at the very tip top of the card made it impossible to fit into an A2 envelope. So I decided to create a 5x7 card, and I found some matching paper that would complement the colors of the card. I knew that I wanted to layer the card using a couple of matching cardstock pieces, so I went ahead and got out my distress tool and frayed the edges prior to adhering my cardstock. Now the only thing left to do to complete this card is to actually layer it onto a couple of pieces of matching cardstock. And as we're going along, you can see there weren't a lot of techniques I had to actually use to create this card. But I did want to come in today and show you that you don't have to use a lot of techniques to create a beautiful card. A lot of times if you have pretty cardstock and if you just have a few embellishments like ribbons or flowers, you too can create beautiful cards. So don't feel that you have to know all of these techniques or have all of these tools. Sometimes you just need to have pretty paper. Now, whenever I'm using multiple layers of cardstock, I will adhere the paper with a slight slant. Now, because this paper was so pretty, I decided to put together a couple of Graphic 45 embellishment kits. So you too can create a cute card similar to the one I created today. The embellishment kit is a lot cheaper than actually going out and buying a whole paper stack of Graphic 45. So I wanted to go ahead and provide that to you in case you wanted to try out their paper. I will also leave a list of all the products that I used to create this card, along with the links to the stores. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love to have you. And if you've enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment below, as I love to see your feedback. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone, and we'll see you again next time.